In light of that, would you consider enabling citizens with concealed carry permits to act as first responders in concert with police after appropriate safeguards have been met?
No.
Okay. Easy. But class. Okay.
By the way, I didn't get that reception Thursday night.
On the question of homeland security, is it appropriate to gather intelligence on persons who are simply participating in lawful demonstrations against policies of the Bush administration or any other government policy?
It's a great question. It's a fair question. The line, you know, this is one of those gray area things. Nothing's black and white. I tell street cops, you know, they get to work in the world of black and white. All I work in is in the gray. I don't think that we should gather information about people that are engaging in activities that are their rights as citizens. But there are people who, through their actions, those behaviors I talked about, watch for behaviors, appear to be acting in a way that potentially could raise threat. Not from a homeland security perspective, but let me kind of use a different example that I think highlights what I'm trying to say. We have people in our community, like any community, who suffer from mental illness, and due to the tragedy of our lack of a system in our country for effectively helping people with mental illness, they're out on the street, sometimes have access to weapons, have been very threatening to people, and oftentimes their target seems to be people of notoriety, like presidents or entertainers. We would be remiss in not keeping information about the potential threat that those people potentially hold, so that when one of those folks comes to town, this is standard fare, when Secret Service comes to town, you know, they give you that whole whopping 48 hours notice that you have to completely drop everything and make it your life's mission to guard somebody for the 45 minutes they're going to be there that cost all of us taxpayers $1 million for that 45 minutes. It's entirely appropriate for us to say, here are some people that historically we think could potentially act out in a way that could pose a threat. And I think that's an obligation to do. The same could be said for people whose behavior goes to an extreme where one could wonder about their potential of engaging in some form of terrorism for the country. Now, I can't say this about Colorado Springs because we have some targets here that could much well be in the sights of international terrorists. Historically, in communities I've served, domestic terrorism is always a far, far greater threat than international. White supremacy groups, posse comitatus, you know, the kind of thing that happened in Oklahoma City. Those are the kinds of things that in most of America pose the day-to-day threat. Here we have to be realistic. We have some key military installations that I think could well be the targets of international terrorists. And so we must be mindful of that, and that does somewhat shape our intelligence gathering. I think I've been disturbed about the trend. Everything in our country is on this pendulum, and we've gone from having great intelligence systems to totally inappropriate intelligence systems to no intelligence systems, and then we're kind of coming back in the middle somewhere, and then along came the Patriot Act, and you know, we're off the charts again. So I just think that's part of the American process, to have this frenetic pendulum and try and figure out where we can slow it down in the middle somewhere, and I hope that's probably where we'll be. But I can certainly tell you my perspective in running an agency is that, you know, we need to live in the middle there somewhere and not out on one of those fringes.